Good morning. This is Wednesday of the 30th week in Ordinary Time. And what I would like to just briefly speak about, as I try to do every year about this time, is tomorrow's, it's not a national holiday, but it's a national observance of Halloween. And the actual root of Halloween is very, very Catholic in its origin. The church had a beautiful custom. It wasn't called Halloween, but it soon became widely observed during the course of a year where bishops with their priests, deacons, and a lot of the Catholic faithful would gather in a cemetery and offer Mass and discuss the lives of those who had lived and died and pray for them. And this eventually developed into a widely used practice, especially after the Emperor Constantine freed the Catholic Church from public persecution. It not only continued in cemeteries, but in many churches throughout Christendom. Again, it would be the bishop gathering with as many priests, deacons, and Catholic faithful as possible. They would celebrate really more the lives of the saints, if you will. But they always would begin with remembering how they lived and died. And so the way Halloween came about is St. Patrick, of course, the great evangelizer of Ireland, brought to Ireland this custom. And he was used to this. And the thing that St. Patrick faced early on was a really strong paganism among the Celtic peoples. And their priests were called Druids, and they were militant against anyone becoming Christian. And so what St. Patrick decided to do, that the evening before the celebration of All Saints, which that feast had already come to be called, and which we still call it today on November 1st, he would, the evening before, light these huge bonfires and ask the people to kneel near these huge bonfires and pray for all of those who had gone before them in the faith and had died. And this counteracted a very strange kind of Druid practice of digging up the most recently dead people, putting them on display, and in a sense almost worshiping the dead, which of course that's idolatry, and St. Patrick forbade that. And of course what he called this evening before All Saints' Day, he called it All Hallows' Eve, an evening for all of the holy ones who had died. And it was an evening, and really it went into the early hours of the next morning, so it went all night. It was an all-night vigil of prayer for all who had gone before them in faith and had died, remaining faithful to God and to God's church. And so that's how Halloween, so to speak, came into existence. But the way we celebrate it today is nothing like it should be celebrated. It's been terribly commercialized. There's nothing especially religious about it. And if we would like to celebrate Halloween correctly, as the church has celebrated it for such a long period of time in the past, is we should either together gather in our churches or even with family and friends at home. Spend some time, instead of running around the neighborhood dressed like a clown or something else and hoping to get candy or something, spend this time at home as family and friends in prayer for all of your deceased relatives and friends, and make it an evening of prayer and anticipation of celebrating the great solemnity of All Saints, which this year is this coming Friday. And of course, that's a holy day of obligation. And so the obligation to go to Mass on Friday, or the vigil, which is Halloween evening, which would be a good way of celebrating Halloween, the obligation is the same as it is for all of us for every Sunday. That if through our own fault we just don't go to Mass on All Saints' Day, the Church tells us that's a mortal sin, and that must be confessed before receiving Holy Communion. So it's these coming days, beginning with Halloween, or as it was more correctly called, All Hallows' Eve, the evening of all of the holy ones, moving into All Saints' Day, and then All Saints' Day moving to All Souls' Day. It has a rich and a beautiful history, and should be very meaningful for everyone. So may God bless you in these later days of our church year, and as we fast approach the next church year with the first Sunday of Advent.